It's time, so we'll call the meeting to order at 5:30. Thank you all for coming. And welcome our new member, Mr. Terry Hagan. I don't know what TV channels you watch, but he's been having pictures on TV
There you go.
It's true. Yeah, you're famous.
There you
Yep. Welcome. Move on to approval of the April 25 minutes, which you have had
I've got a copy
emailed to you.
Yes, that's not on that one. Hold on. Pulled out here. Minutes. There we are.
You have another half-minute opportunity for questions or comments or corrections. And if I hear none at that point, we'll declare the minutes approved as presented.
If not tomorrow, okay, bye.
Okay, hearing none, we will declare the April 25, 2024 meeting minutes approved as presented. On to public comments. No quote public unquote here, so I guess there won't be any comments.
Fair enough.
On to business. Public hearing case Z 2024-08. Zoning change for hospital district.
Yes, sir. So this is a request. It's kind of an odd one. It's coming from the Public Building Commission, who technically owns the property that the hospital sits on. And also the co-applicant is the hospital itself. So what we're doing here is requesting it go from I2, which is heavy industrial, it's existing zoning, to the newly created HS Hospital District. Grab the too many things to juggle here. Lincoln one that we had to pull off. We pulled the Lincoln zoning case because of some technical issues with it. It actually doesn't have a certificate of occupancy right now because of some issues that never got final inspections on some things, and Ben's working through that. But for this case, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward case. So the property is located, I don't have a picture out there, but it's the hospital property. And so it would just move from that zoning, the I2 zoning, into the hospital district zoning. When we created the hospital district, it meets all the qualifications to be in the hospital zoning district. It's actually the only facility in town that does.
By intention.
By intention,
Yeah.
by design, it
Yeah.
makes it. So you can see that Mark there, Blake By is our chair of our Public Building Commission. So he signed off on the Public Building Commission, and Mark Rooker signed off on for the hospital as the CEO. These are all the notifications that went out. Yeah, so there's one of the notifications. The other one didn't get put in there. So we've made all the notifications. We haven't had any comments from the public about it. We've gotten no comments in the office. It's a pretty straightforward deal going from I2 to the hospital zone for its intended purpose, essentially. So we're recommending moving forward with that zone change.
You're recommending that we recommend to the council that it be.
That's what, well, yeah, it's the council who doesn't put their Public Building Commission hat on. They put their council hat on for this one because they actually approved this as the Public Building Commission too. So this is where it gets weird. It's one of those things. So yeah, that would be how this works. I guess that for Terry, that's how this works. We make recommendations. This board doesn't actually get to make the zoning change itself. It goes from here onto the city council. The city council, I would say 99% of the time, takes the planning commission recommendation. And then it has to pass an ordinance to make that change. So.
Okay, other comments, questions?
Move that we recommend approval as requested.
Okay, there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. One more opportunity for comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to review of proposed replat of AMPI property. It's not been platted up till now, is that the case?
It has, but it is one giant parcel.
Oh,
And so what we'd like to do, this is, when I say we, we're talking about the city land bank. So again, another hat that the city council gets to wear, is to take and break this up into different lots. And I can see, maybe zoom in one and see if I can get it there. So the entire thing is one giant parcel. So we've got, this is where the Marion County EMS facility is. And you're allowed to do one subdivision of a lot out of the bigger lot. You can do it one time. But you can't do it anymore without replatting it. And so what we had them do here is create a couple of new lots. This first lot right here would be for the fire station project, which is moving forward. Hopefully find some federal funding for that. And then they took the building and they made different lots out of that. So these are common walls. This is where the police station is. This section right here is the front section. So there's some storage in here and the welding school is in here. This back section here, lot 5, the fire department has a section right here, and the rest of that is used for storage for the city. Lot 6 is just a giant mess of all the things that really need to be torn down. This is the section that just needs to go. It includes the smoke, well, not smokestack, I guess it is a smokestack. All those kind of Frankenstein cobbled together buildings. These lots would have shared common walls. And then I guess lot 7 is it's basically that freestanding building that exists to the east. So they created one kind of big lot to deal with that. And what EBH is proposing here with this is to create areas of reserve all the way around this property so that you're not landlocking any one particular piece of property. So these would be common reserves for everybody who uses this. And this would be the access points for everybody too. So what it ends up doing is giving the land bank the opportunity to kind of subdivide this, get the fire station project going, keep the welding school and where it's at. And then at some point, what we would ideally like to do and what we've requested funding for within the federal request for the fire station is to demolish any of the areas here that need to be condemned, or they are condemned now. And then turn any existing area into kind of a fire station training area. That's kind of how we looped it all together with the federal grant. So that money would also help stabilize these buildings because they'll have some new exterior walls and do roofing on all these, which would be amazing.
Can they save that?
I think so. The structural engineer, when they did it, it was Larry did it. It had to have been 10 years ago, probably.
But you're saying that area where the police department's.
Yeah, it can stay. It can be freestanding.
So, but lot 6, 5, that's.
6, the chunk of 5 is probably okay still. And then a piece of 4 probably would need to go too.
Okay, so in essence, those 3 would probably be demoed.
Some of it, yeah, most of it. Anything that could be salvaged would be, but yeah.
And lot 7, that's where the dairy
Building, yeah, dairy in the spa.
is. That
That would
sound?
stay. Yeah, it's sound.
Okay.
It's in pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Okay,
It's not in bad shape. It's not great, but it's not
Right.
bad.
understand.
So yeah, that's kind of the plan for this. This is sort of the first step in this, just so we can get a first blush glance at it, see if there's anything that the planning commission finds to be unacceptable with that design. And then we'll kind of start walking through the platting process, which is multiple steps. It's just kind of a multiple.
What's the driving factor for having to
platted as separate lots.
Yeah, we wanted to plat it for separate lots. One of the issues is with the Board of Tax Appeals. They want to charge us taxes for the entire thing, even though only a portion of it actually needs to be taxed. Or would be we want to do tax exemptions on all the parts that are technically tax exempt. Except for that lot 7, that portion of that building, that freestanding building, we lease that out to somebody who's a tax generating entity, and so they don't want to give us a tax exemption on the whole thing because of that. And so this would help clear that up too. And the other issue is if we're going to do this fire station project, we need to have this as an independent lot, and we can not do any more lot splits with this because we split out for the EMS station earlier. I was surprised to learn that it was just one giant lot, honestly. I don't know why they did that originally. I mean, they probably never had any thought that they were gonna ever have to split it
Yeah,
out.
it's just one
It's
entity.
just one thing, so. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the item will be on our agenda at a future meetings.
Yeah, I wanted to get some feedback here and see if there's anything that anyone was opposed to that jumps off the page. Like, is there,
Sure.
is this a bad idea? Is this something else we need to look at? Or something
What about the
I'm thinking?
gas line, the dedicated gas line that they had come in? Now, is that, the city's not generating any income off that right now?
It's technically dead.
Okay,
Which is a good thing because it's a
Right.
big dog. And it goes, let's see, it goes through this. I can't really see real well. It goes up into this property here, but it cuts across those lots on 3rd Street. There's a pretty substantial chunk of this lot that gets cut. I think it's this lot right here, Ben, isn't it?
So,
Yeah. There's a gas line easement that runs through here and then it heads out.
yeah, this is Torres's place.
Torres's place right there, so.
but that is a non-usable, not used, it has been condemned as a,
It's been decommissioned.
okay,
Theoretically.
right,
Somebody could come back in and recertify it and use it.
Right.
But I had a hard time believing they would do that. Possible though. And that gas line runs all the way. You know, we technically have ownership of it all the way outside of town over onto
Yeah.
like Nighthawk or something like that. So very odd situation. Got the gas line. I think somebody thought in the future that they could potentially monetize that gas line. But it never came to pass.
Before you came up with this, had anything else ever been considered? That you know of?
Just total demolition. It's been considered several times, but no, not really. I mean, we kind of thought about we could keep it in just bigger chunks, but when we look at the building itself, there are parts of it that are condemned. You cannot go into it without hazmat gear, basically. So this seemed like the most logical way, and then we could still retain things like the welding school, and if there are usable parts, we could still use it.
It certainly seems like a prudent thing to do to get it to where you're not being charged property tax.
Yeah, it's a significant amount they try to charge. Every year we protest it and no luck. So I got our attorney involved this last year and still no luck. It's a Board of Tax Appeals. They're just fun to deal with.
What, the county or
No, it's a state
state?
Board of Tax Appeals, yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions on that matter?
On lot 5. Well, it's kind of a zooming in.
Yep.
So you have the easement inside the building? Is that how I'm reading that? Is the building the dark line and then the dotted line says easement
Oh, there's
to the right?
Oh, right here.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is that the building that's the dark line and then the easement's?
Yeah,
inside
that
the
would be.
building?
Do the lot lines represent actually the dimensions of the building, or is it?
Supposed to.
Okay, I was like-
Is it overage?
Maybe overage,
Yeah,
Okay,
because there'd be setback requirements,
right?
so
Okay.
maybe those dark lines are actually
not.
wider than the
Wider
actual
what it actually
building.
needs.
Okay, so the
That would
building,
make sense. I
the
was like-
buildings that's on it then would meet the
The setback.
setback
requirements.
requirement.
Yeah, that's correct. That's probably right in the center of that roadway. I guess it's not really a roadway, it's an alley or access way,
Driveway.
driveway.
Cause you were saying shared walls, and so that's why I thought that.
Yeah, all
was-
these interior ones.
The
are shared,
interior, the-
yeah.
The outside might not be the actual wall.
Does it change, I mean, I don't know what the zoning on it is. Is there change to zoning with all these lots or?
Oh, it's,
They were-
it'll all end up being the same. I think it's, is this one CS or C?
I think it's
I1. Okay. Heavy industrial. It's exactly what you want right there, a dog food plant.
Yeah. Okay.
Or a chemical. Worst case scenario, yeah, something like that could go in. But,
So is that something?
we maybe want to
doing?
down zone that, yeah. Yeah, we would probably want to look at that through this process too. That's a good point. We could change it when we're planning it.
Well, finally, the city owns it, so the city can control what goes in
Mhm.
there.
But you really wouldn't know how much would be salvageable until you actually started demolition. And where, you know, once you start, you don't know where you're gonna finish.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
We would have to re-engage a structural engineer and some of that.
Yes, it's I1.
Okay. Light industrial. So yeah, we wouldn't know exactly what we do. We know, like, the police department's a great example. It's freestanding and they just added on to it. It's got weird things. We know we could save that because it's got basically exterior walls already that they've made into interior walls.
And so they would stay there.
No basement underneath.
No basement under that one. At this point, yeah, we've talked about other places and other options for them, but that requires some other people to move and some other things. So to be determined, but right now, the idea was that with that federal money, we could stabilize it if we needed to, and then replace the roof is the biggest issue and windows on that building are an issue too. But the way the request to the federal government was, it was literally 2 pages, and I asked for $8 million and gave them 0 details. So
So you would demo first,
yeah, we would probably do some demo. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure how we would
you
do
know,
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
just to understand the flow. If you take lot 6 and figure out where you're gonna end up on lot 5.
Mhm.
But, you know, obviously demo, you would have to do that first before you,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all, you're right. I mean, that's been a cluster ever since the AMPI pulled out of here.
Yep.
And then we had the Barkman fire.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a disaster.
You what?
It's been a disaster.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And it needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so.
What are the odds of getting federal funding, do you think?
I don't know.
They haven't said no
They
yet.
haven't said no, and it made it through the last argument round of appropriations. So
What would plan B be if they didn't approve?
we do have Plan B. We've got a USDA program that we think we can access to do the fire station. Now, I wouldn't necessarily end up doing demo part of that, but to be determined.
Okay, any other opinions to give to Mr. Matt? Or questions? Okay, so we're ready to move on to the administrator's report.
Nothing major to report at this point. We do have a little bit of a stall with our friends up on 3rd Street. I wanted to do the container homes. They're running into some issues and have looked at a couple of different options as far as how to make it to maybe look at a different process than what they've been using. So they're actually having me look around for some fabricators. They need some help with some fabrication stuff. Don't know all the details with it, but they're not going in right away. I can tell you that there's been a delay there. So to be determined. We'll actually find out tomorrow about the Mennonite housing project, whether it got funded through the state. So feeling pretty bullish about that one. I think that one will probably go. But we'll know tomorrow. And then, yeah, we've got a couple, like I mentioned, the grant out there for fire station thing. That's a pretty big deal too. Got a couple others sort of floating around. We just received $500,000 yesterday from the state to rebuild the intersection at Sonic, basically Sonic 50. So we'll get that project. It's in the 2027 round for them, so don't get your hopes up it's gonna happen tomorrow.
What's that to be like then?
They're actually gonna, I think that one includes another passing lane, kind of like what we did at the hospital.
Okay.
They're gonna rebuild that interchange there.
Right.
So those are kind of the big projects that are going on right now. We will have that case of 207 North Lincoln back, I think.
Should have, yeah,
Should have it back.
I'm doing a final inspection tomorrow.
Okay.
Try to get that.
So we'll have that conversation at our next meeting. That's
What's,
everything.
what's the status of the Parkside homes along Ash Street?
Oh, I don't know.
I
They've
noticed
got
they
them
have
roped
tape,
off.
Uh,
yeah.
I have some information about that. They're planning to demolish.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the plan.
I
I haven't
thought,
gotten a permit yet, but I've
I
talked
thought
to
they
the
were gonna do that a
contractor.
long time ago.
Yeah, they
And they've
did.
done their asbestos survey and it's come up. Can't really say clean, but there's not an asbestos problem that would hold up demolition.
Yeah.
So. They're moving ahead with it. In fact, I've talked to them about maybe using it for fire training before they do the demolition. You know,
Yeah,
gotta take your opportunities. when
Yeah.
you-
Sure, take your shot.
Is anything going on south of town with that one lot?
Oh, that's for sale. I know that.
I saw that.
They cleaned it up and then put a for sale sign on
I
it.
thought I saw that.
Yeah.
That's
does the
weird.
container come with it? Oh,
I don't know. I had a boat on it for a while.
give
Yeah.
me the boat on it.
That was the strangest thing.
Yeah.
It's a big for sale sign.
Yeah. Well, I guess there are a couple other things. The daycare project is moving forward. That contractor, we finished there was asbestos in that building and we did get that remediation finished last week. Contractor continues to be doing demolition and framing and they're anticipating being finished in February. So then the daycare could open anytime after that, theoretically. Everything seems to be moving right along. The contractor is very good. They're very consistent and have done a very good job of staying on schedule. So that's a good one there. And then the city council heard a request Tuesday, I guess, from the city of Gossel. They've got a big issue. Well, I don't know how big it is, but they have a request that they're going to be going to the Marion County Planning Commission requesting a buffer zone for the construction of wind turbines. I guess they've had some plans to build wind turbines kind of south of there. And they wrote a letter to, I'm assuming, every city in the county and asking if not to co-sign on it, but if that was an issue for us, is that something we've been willing to take forward? We don't really have a huge issue with that in Hillsboro, but we would definitely like to have a barrier, some kind of barrier. We've had this argument
Yeah.
with the Marion County Planning Commission. So I don't know that we'll sign on to the windmill portion of it, but we do still want to have some sort of extraterritorial jurisdiction. So that's an ongoing conversation with them.
The company that has the existing wind farm is proposing another wind farm, a separate, well, same ownership, but a separate project. My supposition is that because they got excluded out of Reno County and Harvey County, they're looking for willing counties to take them now. And I know they've talked to landowners over fairly close to Gospel.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know if you had a crystal ball, you could look 30 years into the future, because if you look at California and Central California, I'm told someone said there's some just idle wind farms that are not
What do you
doing
do with them
anything
after
anymore. They're just sitting there.
Well, nobody has a problem if you're not directly affected by it.
Right.
you
Right.
know. I mean, I see this my son lives in Enid, and Enid's a wind capital of the world out there.
Oh, I got a bunch.
Yeah, and most guys that are gaining money off it have no problem with it. And there's just so much ownership of ground that's not living there. They're out of state.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't have a problem with it,
Sure.
Don't
Don't have to
so.
deal with any of the noise. or the-
Exactly.
My wife's got relatives in southeast Colorado that
Oh,
have
yeah.
wind farms on there. And they absolutely love it because it's wide open out there and they don't live close to the windmills.
Yeah.
It's just income.
Yeah.
They need to have a clause in there. We had a pipeline oil pipeline company wants to put a pipeline through a piece of agricultural property over by Pratt. And we put a clause in that if it's not used for 12 months, for the purpose of the thing, that we can turn around and send them a note and say, take the pipeline out.
There you go.
So
So that's what they do, Jeff.
I'm no expert on wind farms, but is it clear that the benefits outweigh what it
but if you
costs, or
don't,
is
if you
it
don't
tough
put a
for-
clause in, they don't have to take the pipeline.
or it's still
or the windmill.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's just like anything else. I don't believe any type of an alternate energy isn't gonna stand on its own 2 feet
Right.
without
Tax
subsidization of the
subsidy,
government.
yeah.
Right, right.
And, what I hear with people coming in, their biggest complaint is number one, all the energy leaves the state it's coming out of. And there's very little money impact, other than if you're directly involved with a project, but outside of that, and maybe schools.
Hmm.
But for the general resident, no. Yeah.
Okay, any other matter anybody wants to bring up before we adjourn? Not, we'll declare the meeting adjourned at 5:56.
Make sure in the minutes, Danielle, you put that you offered to come back because you missed us so